I'm Sophia A. James, aka Fired Mother. Whoa, it was a journey. I had all these ideas, and she did too, of what her life was going to be like. Until one day, I'm also a preschool teacher as well. And when the accident occurred, I was at a workshop and I had just got this job. So that means I had no paid FMLA. But good thing I had a family that supported me financially, where if I couldn't pay rent, they're there, and that's still happening today. On a rainy day, she gets hit by a car and I'm up north, and my stomach dropped down to the ground. I don't know why I was feeling that way, because I was having fun at this workshop being a preschool teacher. And we was doing all these fun, fantastic things, but I had this sadness urge. Something ain't right. And by the time I got from the north side to the south side, I saw how the ambulance and the fire trucks blocked the person off. And I said to another lady, I said, it's raining, people are driving crazy. I hope that person's okay, not knowing that was her. She was coming home from school. And when I got in the house, I had a cellular phone, but normally I don't answer the house phone. And it was like slow motion. I found myself running to the phone and not realizing that's what I was doing. And when I got to the phone, the Board of Education told me, your child has been hit, and we're trying to find you. And at the time I didn't have a car. I'm like, how am I going to get there? So they called the police to come and get me and take me to the hospital. I want to back up just a little bit. We had just saw the Passion of Christ right before that happened, maybe about 3 or 4 days before that. And then I find myself saying the same thing that Mary was saying, my child, what have they done to you? Not knowing if she was going to survive that night. She had tubes and everything all over. So when we got past that night, then the doctor said, okay, so she survived the night. We don't know what her outcome is going to be. We don't know if she's going to be a vegetable or what. I'm going to talk about the rawness of what it's like being a caregiver, the very thing that people don't talk about because they think that I'm a horrible person if I say these things. But you're thinking these things. I said to the doctor, if she can't walk and can't be on her own, we're going to talk about pulling the plug. I got criticized for saying that to another friend, but those were my feelings. That's how I felt. How should I mask what I'm feeling and deny what I'm feeling? That's saying that's part of my becoming non-existence. So after all of that was happening, we found out she gonna survive. I went through the rehab and everything, where to place her and the whole 9 yards. What happened was I got so involved in her, I forgot who I was. I became her. Even though she has traumatic brain injury, that disability became mine. When I got her to the point, and by the way, by me going to school for child development, that gave me some ideas of how to help her. When she was in a coma, I looked at her as an infant child just being born. I had the music when it was safe, to stimulate her brain. I had the music teacher come in and play music. I read books to her. My other children brought videos and show her and talk to her. Just because a person's eyes are open does not mean they out of the coma. And that's another misconception that we get. You know, her eyes are open up, but I don't think she really saw me. But her brain knew I was there. Because every time I leave out the room, the fluid in her brain would rise up high. And then when I came in the room, it would go down low. And that's the interesting way of how the brain protects itself. Moving along, getting the IEP done, and voicing my opinion to make sure things are done specifically and addressing all her medical issues. By the time she was getting ready to leave high school, I did a thorough intake on what I observed to make sure that when she went to college, because that was the last IEP review was going to be, this is what's going to follow her for the rest of her life. And because I did that, that protected her in college because she was about to get kicked out. Okay, moving along. She went to college. She got her bachelor's. I dealt with the anger. I dealt with some abuse from her. But I knew, and then I had to remind her, I was there on the hospital floor, sleeping, being there with you. But I'm not going to let you hit me and do this to me. Until she became more conscious and understanding more clues, then she started having compassion of what she was doing towards me. And she apologized. To this day, she appreciates what I did and involved in her. Moving further along, when it was time for her to get her apartment. Now, don't get me wrong, I wanted her to be independent. But every time I stepped back, she would pull me in. And I had to tell her, I don't have all the answers. And I'm not a licensed psychologist or a licensed therapist. But I've done all I can do for you. Not saying I'm going to abandon you. But I don't know how she interpreted that. Maybe she did interpret that I was abandoning her. But I wasn't. Now we have a different relationship. Since she's been on her own, been independent, she calls me to vent or to run ideas, and that's what your grown children do. She pays her bills and the whole 9 yards, but I'm still working with her social skills because that was the piece that I brought into child development classroom. And her social was affected from the traumatic brain injury itself. So she had to learn everything all over again. How to socialize with people. How to communicate what she was feeling. When she moved out, the bomb hit me. It hit me so hard. I got so depressed. And I was in Jackson Park Hospital. What I'm going to do with me? Now that's what empty nesters say when their children move out, but it was a different thing because I was so wrapped in her. I had no social life. I was never involved with anybody during that time because it was all about her. And it's all about her getting to that point, because when we parents, we get into that survival mode for our children. But then again, I was judging myself. And I felt that I haven't accomplished nothing. I felt I was lost. And I actually wanted to end my life. But then I thought about, what would that do to my children? What would that do to her? What would that do to my grandchildren? Because I felt like I was invisible and my voice was not heard around other people. It's like other people they hear what you're saying, but they don't want to hear what you're saying because they don't know how to react to that. And not knowing they was putting me into a dangerous space, not making them responsible for that, but I needed somebody around my age, another adult, just to talk to. I'm not looking for you to solve what I'm going through. I'm looking for an ear. I couldn't find an ear. And I saw how it messed up my children's head. The oldest daughter, she didn't know how to take that. The one in the middle, she cried. But she stepped in and made sure the medical team was doing me justice as I have done for her. So she's involved in my medical. I am seeing a therapist. And still seeing a therapist. Because during that time when I said the whole bomb dropped down on me, stuff that happened to me as a child that I didn't deal with. Abusive brother that incest me. My mother's harsh words, even though she apologized before she died. And she was there for me, but I understood her. She came from a hard life back in the 1930s, Depression time. So I had to learn to deal with that. My father died on my birthday when I was 17. A co-worker who became a good friend of mine was murdered by her boyfriend who I got the chance to meet, and I stopped him from going into the building looking for her, and she stayed in my house. And when I found out she was murdered, it was on Facebook, New Year's Eve, and I was at a church. I testified, which caused him to be life with no parole. And that wasn't the first murder that he did. Then I started having dreams that he got out and he was looking for me because he knew where my car looked like, what I looked like, and where I work at. But I moved from the area where I was staying at, so he don't know where I live at. But it's just, these are these things that just came back, haunting me, because I never dealt with none of this stuff. I had breast cancer. And now that was right before her accident. But then when she was in rehab for her accident, I had uterus cancer. After that, I had work on both knees. I had eye surgeries in both eyes. A lot of physical health conditions. One day, when they told me to do my annual physical for my job, my blood pressure was so high, and when I went to the doctor, she said, I don't even know why I'm able to talk to you, because you should be dead right now. So these are the things that came back to me, and they was attacking me physically, because I never dealt with me. I never dealt with how I felt. I never dealt with how her disability became my disability. And it's not her fault. Things just happen. I had to deal with the dreams that she had for herself, that now I won't be able to go away to college, because she wanted to go to Howard. That was her dream before she got hit by a car. So now she went to college, but she didn't get a chance to go away. But she accomplished a whole lot like this event. And her communication was through writing poetry, because at the time she couldn't speak. And I'm glad that I had child development, because I was able to look at what are your talents, and let's focus on that. Now, because of, and then dealing with I want to talk about also dealing with the shock of the diagnosis of what's going to happen when you get the news about your child has a disability. And I feel that it's the same as a parent find out their child is born with a disability, because you have all these hopes, all these dreams that you say it's a big possibility for your child to have. But now when you get the shock, it's like, what did I do wrong? You ain't done nothing wrong. But I'm beating myself about it. Even though this happened to her, it's like, maybe if I didn't have a job or whatever, and make sure she get back and forth on the bus myself, or had a car, she probably would have never got hit by a car. I can't stop. I had to tell myself finally, I can't stop those things. Things going to happen in life that we have no control over. It's how we deal with them that makes a difference. So I got the shock. And when we was told in the hospital, me and my middle daughter, we just hugged each other, because that's all I could do. Just hug each other. Then, moving on to, it's okay not to be okay. I like to dress. So I spend all my money on buying clothes, not knowing I'm camouflaging my feelings. I'm smiling all the time. How you feeling today? Oh, I'm doing great. No, what? I wasn't doing great. And it was hard for me to be honest with myself. Because if I be honest with myself, then does that make me a bad mother? I'm supposed to be unselfish and so given to my children that I don't count. Thinking like that caused my physical conditions to be even worse because I'm bottling everything up inside. Stress is a killer. It affects every organ in your body. Diabetes, high blood pressure, the whole 9 yards. And then I had a meltdown in April. This is the bombshell. I've been having headaches before April, and it got so bad that normally I have tricks in my hat to help children in daycare. Oh, this little boy, he was throwing things and doing all kinds. He turned the class upside down. Administration came in, just like they always come in and observe the room. I stood up in the middle floor and I had tears down my eyes. I can't do this no more. I'm over it. And I've been at the job for 18 years. I have no more to offer nobody. And that's how the bottom shelf that I end up in Jackson Park Hospital. Looking sad, hopelessly isolating. I don't have no friends because my 2 good friends died. One was murdered and another one was going to have the weight loss surgery. I had that too. Come to find out she died a couple of weeks before her weight loss surgery. And she kept telling me she was tired. And when I looked back, she was letting me know she was ready to go. Because when people are going through health situations that are so far out, like with my father, he was ready to go. He had those eyes and looked like, I don't want to leave you, but I got to go. He didn't say those words. When my mom passed away, and I took care of her too, she apologized for neglecting her health. But when she started seeing my father, and I know that he didn't exist anymore physically, she was ready to go. I started getting to the point when people tell me about their loved ones are going through this, I said, oh, that person getting ready to pass away. But I wouldn't tell them that because that's not right. Sure enough, a couple of weeks later, they passed away. And then I'm like, why I'm seeing internalizing so much death? I never got to answer that question. Maybe later on God will let me know. And then also, okay, just 1 second. How do I regain my life without feeling guilty? I was thinking, with all this stuff going on, I'm not entitled to a life. My life is everybody's except for my own. 17 death, father died. So I don't deserve to be a 17-year-old. Mother died in my 30s. I got children working. I don't deserve a social life because she needed me. Then when this happened to Sophia, it's like, how dare I think about a social life? It's not mine to have. But that was my thinking. That was what's happening to me. So when she moved out and the bottom fell out, I knew I needed help. Because thoughts of suicide was not the answer. Because now I'm making it ugly for my children who love me mentally in a bad way. So was that right? But that's what I was feeling. So as I went through treatment and started talking about all the things that was haunting me from my childhood life and realizing that it's not my fault. Life happened that way for me to have a story for somebody else that's in my foot. And maybe I'll save somebody else's life. Because here's the thing. And as I stated previously, we don't talk about the rawness of dealing with what we're going through for our loved ones, and we're afraid that if we talk about it, it'll make it worse for them. But then again, I was making it worse for myself. Sometimes you have to be a little selfishness. Because if I don't take care of me, how am I going to take care of somebody else? And that's the arrogance of that part of my story. To deny me of me. And to isolate me from the world. And feeling that I have nothing else to give and nothing else to offer. But I do have a lot to give, and I have a lot to offer. I still want to work with children, but I think I want to do it in a different capacity. Even though the job had me becoming a paraprofessional, which helped other children and other parents to realize you're not alone. I've been there, and I'm still there. And we're not labeling your child. We want your child to have the best choices, so when they go to grade school, go to kindergarten, they become to work towards a successful, independent life based upon what they're able to do. Okay, and stop judging myself. Nobody's telling me that I was a bad parent. Nobody. That was me. That was me doing that talking. That, and then when I said in one of my therapist sessions, because I was so sad, I ain't accomplished nothing. Then the therapist brought out, well, who raised all your other kids? And they're grown. One got a house, even though I'm living with her. And then the other one, she's holding her own. Every time she gets a job, she gets a better paying job. Her daughter's crazy about me. We're road dogs, that kind of thing. We hang out together. And she senses when that happened to me. I don't think she knows the part about the suicidal part. She would call and think of things. Come and get me. Come and do this. Let's go to the football game. I'll pay for you. I'll help you with your gas and the whole 9 yards. And by the way, my short-term disability from my job is still trying to figure out where to extend my pay. And I've been without pay for a couple of months. Now I'm feeling bad because I'm not paying my daughter rent. I didn't inconvenience her in my thought out of her bedroom, and she's down in my bedroom in the basement. But she did this because how are you going to walk up and down the stairs and you just had a knee replacement? See, that's my thinking, that I felt that I was using her. But I'm not. I had to come to a realization that, and the therapist said, good thing you have these children, because if you didn't, what would you have done? And you have done a lot for them. It's time for them to do for you. You're not asking for a whole lot, but you need them. Just like when they need you, you was there, and I didn't ask for nothing in return. And I guess because that independent part of me is like, I'm here to help other people, but how dare I ask other people for help? And that's also part of the depression. So I have to come out of that mode and say, today I'm not okay. Today, this is what I need. I just need for you to listen to what I'm saying and not judge me. But because I need to vent, I need to get it out. And I'm not trying to hold nobody hostage. So also today, I had to change some friends because they changed me. And when they found out I was in a state of depression, it's like I felt like my voice went silent. But see, here's the thing. Depression is still a thing that's still taboo. Nobody still don't want to talk about it. And they're afraid that it will it might be catchy to them, or I'm doing a pity party, or I just want attention. And that's not the case. I need to get it, I've been holding it in, and I need to get it out. Because if I don't get it out, then what's going to happen? I'm going to explode like a time bomb. So is that fair as well? Now, the next thing I want to talk about and how it relates to what I'm going to, and that's the reason why I shouldn't judge myself. Now, where did my identity go? And I think I touched on that previously. I exchanged my identity for my daughter's identity. Again, it's not her fault, and she has nothing to apologize for. But then we're taught in society that mother is supposed to just sacrifice everything because that's what you're supposed to do. And I know some fathers probably do the same thing too, because there are fathers that have to take on that role to step in to make sure their children are emotionally okay. So when the bombshell dropped on me and I got past the sadness and going through therapy, I learned that I do have identity. I am somebody. I have a lot to offer. And I'm getting my happiness back. Because I had gotten to the point I didn't like people. Society is so cruel, it's so mean. People are dying, this is all kind. I can't rescue the world, but I can help one person at a time. And by me helping one person at a time, I'm actually helping myself. So it's still not just all about me trying to get help, but it's all about me trying to give what I have, and I do have a lot to offer. I had to give up school because I couldn't think, even though school was free, working on my bachelor's. But like my daughter say, hey, you know, you're 65 years old, and by the time you get your bachelor's and they want you to work 3 years and you be in your 70s, mother, you know, you need to sit down somewhere and do some traveling and find some people around your age to hang out with. You know, they even got to the point, I couldn't go to all the parties with them because I think that I'm young and I'd be in there just juking and dancing with them, you know. But it wasn't the fact that they didn't want me to hang with them, it's the fact that they want me to find my own identity because they have theirs and they have their life. And they want me to have my own life. So, and I'm not just advertising, I'm glad that the Blue Cross Blue Shield has these community centers are available and they're free. And I go there and I'm meeting people around my age who are seniors. I had a hard time accepting I'm a senior. And then my daughter Sophia said, Mom, I'm not trying to call you old or anything like that, but take advantage of it. You get discounts. So get them discounts. You know, in other words, what she was saying, you paid your dues. It's time to take advantage of what there is to offer because you done it. And like the therapist said, I done paved the way for my daughters to enlighten them and encourage them to go on the path that they choose and to work things out for themselves. They need me in a different way as a sounding board. It's not like, Mom, you know, take me by the hand and do this and the other. No, it's a different type of relationship now. Since they grown, we're friends now. Before it was like, I'm your mother. I'm not going to be your friend. I'm your mother. And I'm going to, you know, tell you what to do, how to do it. No, it's a different relationship now. That does not mean they love me any less. It just means they showing me more love than they did as they was coming up. Okay, and am I entitled to a separate life? Yes, I am. Whatever that may be. Maybe one day some nice guy will come and see me as I am and say, hey. But until that time happens, I got other things I want to do. Since I got 2 good knees now, even though they mechanically inserted in me, I want to do stepping. I don't know about roller skating, but I like to go and eat the hot wings. I can walk further. I can go for walks now. I'm starting to appreciate life naturally. Enjoy breathing the birds, the scenery, because you are worth it. You are here, and you have something to share. And with that, I hope that you got something out of this. And always take time to care for self. Self-care is very important. Meditation. How is the food that you're eating affecting you and making those changes? Exercising. Taking a movie. And if you can't afford it and you got cable, turn a section in your house into a movie theater and have a picnic, even if you're doing it by yourself. Because you're worth it.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
We live at the Eden Supportive Living Facility down the street on Dorchester and 72nd, and that's what a lot of people that live there, you know, everybody, not us, because, I'm one of the mentors in the building and the vice president of the resident council. But like you were saying, I try to just insert that when I'm facilitating a group, hey, love yourself. I mean, get back to you. Not because you ain't got to leave yourself because you're in a wheelchair, because you have a mental disability, physical, whatever's going on with you in your immediate life. It's not as bad as you think it is. So, like I was telling my friend right here, you got to get back to loving yourself. And you said a mouthful when you said that. You got to turn those frowns upside down. And you got to just get back into you. Because you got to think of what all you've done for society. It's got to come back to, they say when you point one finger at somebody, you got 3 more pointing back at you.
Yes.
And so you just got to get back in tune with you. And I just appreciate you saying, I thought it was just me that felt like that. But because where we live at is a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of broken people, come from broken families. And it just dumped them off into the supportive living facilities. So everybody's like this here. And then here we come, because I think I know everything.
Yeah.
I can get like that sometime. And I just try to do the things like this, exactly what you're saying. And I'm just glad that you feel like that and you're finding self again. Because once you find self, then you can help people like me. What about your next workshop that's coming up? You don't know when that's going to be, but you're going to have somebody sitting up in there just checking it out and be like, damn, I ain't the only one felt like this. Because I had got a little suicidal thoughts and, I shut completely down until I met your daughter. And she kind of like scooped me up out of there. She ain't that big. She put my big old butt on her shoulder. She said, come on, brother. Come on down to the Gary Coleman Center on the 8th, Met her at the mayor's office. We all met the mayor at the same time, Mayor Lightfoot. And the mayor hugged us and let us know it's gonna be okay. And your daughter was like, hey man, And that's how we hooked up. And so that led from the mayor's office to our facility down the street. I invited her there, and we did a little presentation there about things that you're talking about, loving yourself. And then here's the 3rd time right here. And what I'm saying is when y'all do things like this, it does reach people like us. And here we are.
Right.
Y'all, you did that.
And I'm so happy that this being videotaped, because like I told my daughter, she worked so hard. She's been doing this ever since, oh my goodness, since she was starting back writing poetry in 8th grade, and she did a lot of things in college. She accomplished more than what a lot of adults have accomplished with the challenges that she had. But see, then looking at her support system too, that was there. And it's so interesting how God will prepare you for the next level in life. I had no intentions of becoming a preschool teacher. I don't like kids in the first place. But I do. I do.
So can I tell you something?
Uh-huh.
What a joy. What a joy. You are a griot. You are a storyteller. And I'm so glad I'm here. I've done workshops from Maine to California, from Alaska to Florida, okay? Very few have touched the souls who are getting this the way you have.
Oh, wow.
And part of what you did that was so important was to say, it's all right not to feel good. It's all right to admit that you've had some issues that other people just say make you a bad parent.
Right.
They have no clue. They have no clue. I'm a caregiver, but I'm a caregiver for my 99-year-old father-in-law
Okay.
and his wife of 73 years. It's a whole different world. I thought I knew that parenting young kids was the hardest job that you'll ever love. Then I became a caregiver 3.5 years ago. And it's gotten harder. You know, at times, raising kids gets easier. You don't know where they're going to wind up, but you're looking for good things. There's only one way my 99-year-old father-in-law is going to wind up. Like we all wind up. But we don't know when.
Right.
And in the meantime, this is a man with more money than he could ever spend in his life. And he worries about money for himself. He worries about money for his wife. He worries about what he's going to leave behind for his kids. And when you see him worrying about something he doesn't need to worry about, you want to just reach in and say, enjoy yourself.
Right.
You're 99. Tomorrow is not promised you. Enjoy yourself. But then you got to realize this is not your life. You can't change it. And hearing your stories, and I've known, we've worked a lot on this conference. I've seen how hard she works. I've seen you in her in so many different ways. But I'm hearing things now I've never heard before. And it helps me understand how she got to be who she is. And as I said to you at lunch, I am so grateful that you helped her become who she is right now.
And you know what? And thank you. And she has taught me things. And another thing I want to add too, I'm recovering alcoholic and drug
I was
addict
just,
of 40-something years.
Because I was gonna say, it's just like when you're in recovery, substance abuse recovery, and then you got somebody standing up in front of you, ain't never had a drink before in their life, ain't never did no drugs before in their life. Man, you can't tell me nothing about recovery. It's just like someone without a disability, whether mental or physical, trying to tell me about how being disabled.
Yes.
If you don't have what I have, if you're not of me, I always say teamwork make the dream work. If you're not of me, then man, you really ain't talking about nothing. You know, just like drug counselors that have never done drugs. That's wrong.
Well, let me give you a different point of view, okay? My wife did parenting classes before we had kids. She's done a lot of work in domestic violence and rape counseling, and she's never been abused or raped. It's not the same. Let me be clear. I can talk about childbirth. I was there when both my kids were born. I have no clue what it's like to be pregnant and give birth. But there are things we can do, and that's to me why dream work makes dream work. It's not the same.
No, I'm not talking about like rape or nothing like that. I'm talking about like I'm basically talking about substance abuse.
Well, let's talk about substance abuse.
Let's talk about substance
Okay.
abuse because the programs that I've worked in and have been director in, if you're not in recovery yourself, the addicts don't want to hear nothing you got to say because you don't know nothing about what they've been through.
Yes.
And I'm from the west side, you know, where they've been pretty much hardcore dope fiends out there. So you're not going to, because they want to say, because they'll ask, what was your drug of choice? You say, oh, I didn't have a drug of choice. I just went to school for this here. And they be like, oh, Lord, here we go. And that's just how it is. So you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because my choice was everything but the needle, but if I stayed out there, I was working towards it.
Mhm. So I'm going to tell you, from my point of view, and I started looking at drug abuse when and looking at the legal drug Valium when I was 18, 19 years old.
And you abused it?
No, I wasn't abusing. I was never using. I was studying it. Okay. I headed the psych and substance abuse section of the American Hospital Association, and one thing I knew is I will never know what it's like to walk in your shoes.
Yes.
But what I can do is help people listen to each other, learn from each other, and for that matter, learn from me. As long as I have the humility to understand, just like when I was working on infant mortality, I can't tell you what it's like to be a pregnant mom and lose her child. I can't do that. But I can help. I mean, when I would give testimony, for example, whether it's around, one of the big things was trying to get equal treatment for mental and substance abuse illnesses as we do for physical illnesses, right? Parity. I don't have to have gone through that to understand that when we're saying, well, that's not as important, that's totally wrong. I've seen the damage. I have friends who've been in recovery for more than 25 years. I've got friends and family who are still drinking or using. I've seen a lot of the damage. It's not the same, but teamwork does make the dream work. I work in diversity and cultural competence. So I work with lots of people who are different from me.
You entitled to that?
And I know there will people who will not get what I say.
Yeah,
And I accept that.
Like
Just
if I'm in a
do
drug program and the guy and the people and the person, whoever it is facilitating class, if they haven't walked a mile in my shoes, then we don't even want, we don't.
Let me just say one thing about that. The quote we get is walk 1 mile in my shoes. You go back to what the Native Americans have said, 2 moons in my moccasins. Okay, 60 days, not 20 minutes, to get a clue. But I will never be the same as my wife or my daughters, or even my brother who's 2 years younger. And just as much a black male as I am, we've had very different experiences. And that's, to me, it's where the compassion comes in. I can't know what it is to walk in your shoes, but you just shared stories with me that touched my heart. That's what I try and do. If I'm teaching the audience, there's nobody else black in the audience. You're not going to know what it's like to be black. I've got white women in the audience. You're not going to know what it's going to be like to have people, grab their purse tighter when you walk in. I'm a 66-year-old senior, but if I put on my cap and I'm wearing a black leather jacket, I don't look like a 66-year-old senior. And I've seen people treat me like I'm a 19-year-old black man. Yeah, well, I was a 19-year-old black man, and I wasn't a gangbanger then any more than I am now. But I see how you're looking at me. Oh, you might be the next Bill Cosby. No, I'm more like
You do the
doctor.
No, I'm just making light.
I appreciate that. We all need to make light sometimes, because this stuff can get real heavy.
And I don't mean to cut you off. That's the assumptions that people make. They say, "Oh, you're so strong. Oh, you don't
need any help."
Right? And that is the worst thing to say to somebody, because again, you don't know what they're going through internally, and then that caused them to be afraid to ask for help.
Yep.
Because you assume I'm strong, so I'm supposed to be strong. So if I say I need help, I feel weak, then I'm lesser than what I am. So am I living a fraudulent life?
That's deep.
If I can do this, I want to play you a little bit of a song by Sweet Honey and Rock. They're my favorite people, okay? You probably know the song I'm going to do, right? It's called Ought to Be a Woman. And let me just find it, play a little bit of it, because it speaks to exactly what you're saying, the assumption of what strength means.
Why he queuing that up?
Go ahead, I'm finding it.
You find this? Why he queuing that up? When your daughter came to our facility, and registered a bunch of people you know, for this event. You know, we were all in, you know, the direct, I was like, she's coming on a Saturday. I said me and her had set it up to where Friday, we'll have this big thing, because it's 150 people. And the director goes, nah, well, brother, I want, you know, if she's that good, I want to hear her too. And so we set it up in the dining room, and you know, it was kind of big and everything, you know, but afterwards, you know, once I saw people up in there nodding, and once I saw people not paying attention, I was like, oh Lord, these people not gonna come to this. But you know, we had soda, chips, you know, bottles of water. You know, we passed out a bunch of stuff when she came for them, you know, pretty much an incentive for coming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta bait them in with something.
Exactly.
So we baited them in with that, and then when me and my girlfriend right here was walking down here, you know, because I got cervical myelopathy and cervical spondylosis, so I can't stand up too long, and I can't sit down too long.
Okay.
I gotta either be, you know, I gotta switch it up. And I kept looking back, and I was saying, man, all those people we registered, and not one of them showed up. And then when we got here, because I spoke on the panel upstairs, I called one more time, and I called the front desk. I go, man, nobody's saying, where's Unique and Alfonso? You know, which way is the place? And so it didn't make me, and not sad, but I just said to myself, man, you know, this was an opportunity for y'all to come and get something. You know, like him and I, like, you know, like we're getting out of it, you know? Because I'm gonna use some of this stuff the next time I facilitate a group.
Amen.
You know, I've been taking notes all day, I'm taking mental notes, I'm noting down, because the way I facilitate, I got that from somebody. I got their style, put a little bit of my swag in it.
Right.
So I'm really somebody else when I'm facilitating. I just saw what they did. So I'm gonna take some of the things that you were saying, some of the things that he said.
You know, brother, I appreciate your modesty, but remember, you're still you.
Yeah, but
Nobody else did what you did, and you're imitating would do it your way.
Yeah, but
So
just like Kobe Bryant did with Michael Jordan. You know, that's that's Mike. He treats you gun like him, he walked like. So I didn't know him, and you know why I'm expressing myself, and I can use that point with that. I picked all that up from somebody else. So I'm going to take everything from this event today, and it will be shared with, you know, people with disabilities. It will. You must have dive over the thing. No, come on, man. Come on, man. I'm sure we can get you out of here. Yeah, you know.
Okay, no worries. So I'm gonna play the song. I found it.
So
It's probably good he's not recording it because somebody's gonna get on for violating copyright. Right?
oh, you better check first. They might be suing you.
Take my chance.
So that's the only shit you want now.